Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
F&M leader Dr. Hubert Minnis responds to former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram's calls for unity in the party. That story straight ahead.
Some Progressive Liberal Party MPs disappointed with the draft boundary cuts.
The leader of the Democratic National Alliance sounds off on the boundaries report. That story is coming up straight ahead.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm KRISTINA McNeil. Topping news tonight, the Free National Movement leader, Dr. Hubert Minnis, is not shooting down the idea of a possible reconciliation with the rebel 7 MPs who ousted him as leader of the official opposition. Dr. Minnis says at the end of the day, the F&M is committed to defeating the Progressive Liberal Party by any means possible. Jasmine Brown reports.
The F&M leader says he hasn't ruled out forgiving, forgetting, and reuniting with those 7 MPs, as he insists anything is possible.
Anything's possible within this world. I cannot talk to that matter at this particular time. At this particular time, I am more focused on moving the PLP, and we would do what is necessary to do that.
Dr. Minnis has faced intense criticism since becoming leader in 2012. Long Island MP Loretta Butler Turner attempted to unseat him twice, but lost on one occasion and pulled out of the race the second time. She and 6 other F&M MPs eventually wrote a letter to the Governor General, resulting in Minnis being ousted as leader of the official opposition. Former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram last week called on Minnis, Butler Turner, and other members of the so-called Rebel 7 to put their differences aside or face the possibility of the Progressive Liberal Party winning the next election. When asked what he thought of Ingram's comments, Minnis said this.
We are an organization, we're a party with history, and we do what is necessary to defeat the PLP.
Minnis, who declined to go into any more details, says at the end of the day the F&M will do whatever it takes to win the next general election.
The PLP must be removed from office. We cannot allow the country to continue on this downward slide, our economy to deteriorate, crime continue to escalate, unemployment still out of control, people still losing their homes, their houses, school fees, people cannot afford grocery, light bills, etc. And therefore it's essential, if you want to save this generation, save this country, to remove the PLP.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
In other news, amid accusations of gerrymandering, House Speaker Dr. Kendall Major has revealed that some members of the governing Progressive Liberal Party aren't too happy with new boundary cuts either. Major says while he refuses to be drawn into the political back and forth, he feels the boundary report is fair and basic principles were not violated. Vonique Toot reports.
Since the tabling of the new boundaries report, some members of the opposition have accused government of gerrymandering, asserting the commission created a new constituency and made some boundary cuts to benefit the PLP. However, House Speaker Dr. Kendall Major says you may be surprised to know that some members of the government are frustrated because they feel some of those cuts do not favor them. I've
already met with persons who are unhappy, both on the governing side and also on the opposition side. So that's neither here nor there. Yeah, that happens in this exercise.
Members of the governing side who are not happy with the boundary report?
Absolutely. They're members who are unhappy. Think about it, because every single member will not be able to get their way.
An entirely new constituency called St. Barnabas was created, pulling polling divisions from Fort Charlotte, Anglerston, Bainstown and Grantstown, Centerville and Mount Moriah, creating what some opposition members have called a new PLP seat. In Montague, the Boundaries Commission was accused of cutting chunks of F&M strongholds out of that constituency and placing them in St. Anne's to give the governing party a political advantage. However, Major, who chairs the commission, says some PLP MPs feel they've been placed at a disadvantage because the cuts do not favor them personally.
The chairman himself found himself under duress because members were concerned. You know, they had their likes and dislikes. So not all persons are happy with this. Not all members are happy.
Some feel that the cuts do not benefit.
Do not favor them personally. That's correct. You will find that clearly, but at the end of the day, a decision had to be made, principles had to be followed.
Despite heavy criticism, Major says he is satisfied the report is fair and the Commission's principles were not violated.
Yes, certainly I think the report is fair. From each constituency, there are adjustments in certain areas. As long as they don't violate the principles of which we have been adopted to govern according to the Constitution, then the rest of it becomes a matter of politics.
The Boundaries Report was tabled in Parliament Wednesday night, just over 2 months past the constitutionally mandated deadline. Opposition leader Loretta Butler Turner expressed concern that the creation of a new constituency and the name change to monarchy would cause chaos and confusion at the Parliamentary Registration Department. Major begs to differ.
Every step of the way, I was careful to speak directly with the Parliamentary Registration Department to find out in terms of our time, and I was advised and convinced that in tabling the report and debating it on this coming Wednesday, that they will have sufficient time. They will have sufficient time to do their work, change voters' cards and boundaries, and get the work done.
Members of Parliament will debate changes to boundary lines on Wednesday. Reporting for our News, I'm Vonnie Toot.
Well, Free National Movement Chairman Sidney Cawley says desperation is the only word to describe what he called the PLP Boundaries Report. Cawley said in a statement members of the PLP are willing to do anything they can to hold on to power. He said in desperation the PLP shuffled various polling divisions, moved around boundary lines, changed a name, and created an old familiar constituency name in the hopes of stacking the deck in the party's favor. Cawley added, this is what desperate career politicians do when they see the writing on the wall. However, the PLP government cannot stop the will of the people on Election Day. While Democratic National Alliance leader BRANVILLE MCCARTNEY is sounding off on the recently released Boundaries Report. According to McCartney, it is a pathetic attempt by the Progressive Liberal Party to add another PLP seat. GIORGIO BAIN reports.
Leader of the Democratic National Alliance, BRANVILLE MCCARTNEY, says with an electorate of less than 100,000 registrants, the country far from needed an extra constituency seat. According to McCartney, there are bigger issues that needed special attention.
They've added another constituency known as St. Barnabas, which is the area surrounding Centerville, Angliston, and BAIN and Grantstown. They've done it to try and win another PLP seat. That is all that is all about.
McCartney added that if the DNA is elected to office, decreasing the amount of seats in the House of Assembly will be high on the agenda.
In our view, and we've said it before, the number of seats that we have in this country with less than 500,000 people, and in particular an island, for New Providence 21 by 7, where we have now 24 seats, it's too much. We intend to reduce the number of seats in Parliament when we get in government.
However, McCartney says he has found comfort in one simple fact, and that is he has never seen a governing party succeed following boundary cuts.
The trend has shown that those governments for the past 3 or 4 election cycles, anytime they cut the boundaries, they cut themselves out of office. Bye-bye, PLP. You're gone.
Reporting for our News, I'm GIORGIO BAIN.
Still to come on our News, the F&M leader urges government to come clean on Baha Mar. Plus, trade unionists meet with leaders of the DNA. That's coming up when our News returns.